Alright, welcome back, people. Happy to be with you once again. Thank you, I don't want to listen to myself. There we go. So great to be with all of you once again. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, people, as you can read from the title description, day number 9 of metaphysical analysis of Drakensang online. We've made it to the mid game gameplay mechanics, and today I have a quite interesting topic to analyze. Quite interesting. But before we do that, thanks from the bottom of my heart to Diamond Aegon for being the 82nd YouTube subscriber over there. Pretty much over there. The 82nd YouTube subscriber. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Remember, you can all subscribe over at YouTube to review any of the analysis we've done so far about all of the amazing games that we've played. And just in case, because it was by the end of the stream on Thursday, thanks to Malish for being the 47th Twitch follower from the bottom of my heart as well. Thank you, Malish, as well. Perfect. So, because it was by the end of the stream, and while it did display the follow message, it was by the end of the stream, and I was already beaten by that time. Okay, people, as I was mentioning, for today, let me clear all of that. Sorry that I'm a bit late. It's not because of my fault this time. It's because the Streamlabs decided to update once again. It always decides to update constantly when I'm about to start a stream. You have no idea how much time I spend just configuring, downsampling the surround sound to kind of like 2 channels, which is the standard for Twitch. They should add multi-streaming. Okay, as you can see, last time we got a cute little tiger. By the end of the stream, it just dropped out there in the wild, I guess. Pretty much as we kill mobs. And for today, as I was mentioning, we have a quite interesting topic of analysis. Now that we've made it to the mid-game gameplay mechanics. So, as we proceed with the quests, I wanted to talk about the active elemental system in the framework of the active component of the elemental system in the framework of having a sequential rotation in your game, basically in your game. That's the thing. We'll get into it in a minute. So first, let's get the quest. Big Bad Wolves. Were you ambushed by frost wolves on the way here? We need to make the streets safer. Kill them and bring me their pelts. They'll be good to have anyway. They are very warm. Okay. I don't know if this is a main quest at all. Let me see. Here? I know it's a side quest. Then let's get to report back to... if I can find where to report back, I guess. But well... Does it indicate me? Yeah, there it indicates me. So, as I was mentioning, for today we have a quite interesting topic of analysis. Report back to who? Maybe I can just teleport. Agrasha Carpentier in Andrakasch. Yeah, I think I can go there. A quite important topic of analysis. You know, and this will be the first talking point as an introduction that I wanted to make. Basically, there we go. These ones are of my level, right? We can start fighting, so we get stupid inventory. Once again, this shit. Oh! That looks quite good. Oh, it's blue all around. And then I will extract the gems from this one. Yeah, I should sell my stuff before proceeding. My bad. Anyways, it'll give me time to introduce a topic of analysis. Duration 2 hours. Ah, this is one of the stupid timed items. Coin drop stack size? I think that's for an event or some shit like that. Lol Dragos, what do you recommend to max at wisdom for mage? Hello, Lol Dragos. I am a new player. Sadly, I cannot recommend you, but in my community, you have at least 6 people that have played the game for thousands of hours. Then, if they join the stream, that they without a doubt will later. You can ask them away and they'll be quite kind to help you. I am a new player to the game. I analyze games. I metaphysically analyze games. I do reviews. Usually farm higher level with others. To level up, I am helped by by precisely a follower of my channel asked me to review this game as I do variety. He asked me to review this game among others that I review. So he's helping me get experience when things get out of hand. But I tend not to do it unless it's really necessary. Unless it's really necessary, like being the enemy being several levels above me, so the stream cannot proceed unless it's really needed. Otherwise, I'm doing it kind of like the hardest at the hardest possible difficulty I can. Basically, I see. Yeah. Basically, that's the idea. I'm analyzing one topic per stream, and I get to. Can you show me your stats? I'm kind of curious. Yeah, no worries. Here I can show them to you. As I said, I'm a newbie in this game because in that sense I was asked to review it. Basically, I review one topic per stream, and basically one of my viewers, one of my followers, basically asked me to. Then I bet you can ask either District or Patrick or any of my viewers. Probably they are names that maybe you have no idea, but they when they show up, you can ask them, or Flying Energies, any of them, or Ambra, and they all will tell you. Heredur, yes, Heredur indeed, the Heredur indeed. The District asked me to precisely the viewer that asked me to play the game and review it for him because he had seen that I reviewed other games and he wanted me to review his favorite game. Precisely, he's the one helping me and etc. Okay, let's start there. Precisely, I analyze things like, for example, in the first stream I did a comparison of the physics system in the relative context of the 7th generation. There, I made some room for the inventory for the quest item. I made a relative comparison in the context of the release date of this game, 2010, of the 7th generation, with Titan Quest, because of a void in the development of the physics, for example, of 3D isometric action RPG games, and how they were precisely not quite the point and click control system wasn't quite developed back then, and how Titan Quest fixed it, and this game followed that same formula. And then I cited examples of terrible point and click systems that didn't work back in the day. Flying Energies, well, there you have Flying Energies. If you could help this fine gentleman, Flying Energies, Lol Dragons, he asks, what do you recommend to max at Wisdom for Mage? The max Wisdom for Mage. He says first full crit. Well, Flying Energies played the game for a lot of time, and I bet he'll tell you, well, pretty much the best combination in game. He did the Zero to Hero series. You can check out his amazing walkthrough of it if you have it recorded, Flying Energies and everything. And he's now playing another game. But yeah, he's pretty much an expert. He has been playing the game since, what was it? I think you were 18. I think it was since 18, so pretty much 10 years at least you played Flying Energies. 10 years at least. 2012, well, there. Yeah, it was 18. Well, basically, LOL Dragons was need to know, what do you recommend for max wisdom to max at wisdom for mage? The max wisdom for a mage, what would it be? Then I bet then Patrick joins and we have a discussion about or district or Ambra, pretty much. Or Phantom as well. Max wisdom for a mage, interesting. The wisdom, I know, but that's pretty much must be for end game what he needs to know. Pretty much, because so far it's a stat that I don't think I've been affected at all by it. It has to be for end game at that point, I bet. So as I was mentioning, precisely what I do is analyze the games, one topic per stream. Today, precisely, I wanted to talk about the rotational system in isometric action RPG games. The third symbol from the upper line. The third symbol. The third symbol, like in stats, in what tab? Like the book. Here. Ah, you mean the wisdom skill tree? Well, I do have 42 points, I guess. Yeah, but if... Yeah. Yeah, the passives, you mean. Yeah, the passives. Go crit. Give me a sec. Attack second page. Ah, it's the second skill tree, the passive one. Yeah, the one District had commented me about. You said second page. No, this is preset 2. If you mean attack, it has to be this one. Critical value, you mean this one. Just dump everything on crit. Yo, Patrick! Question for you as well. Yeah, okay. I trust you, Flying Energies, of course. It consumes 3 points per spent point. Until it's 80. Alright, you would do then full crit. Ah, yeah, this makes no sense. Regenerates 100. And base damage? No, but I bet crit is... It has a multiplicative formula, and the other one has a linear formula. That's the key. After crit, you go damage. Okay. Yeah, because this one has to be multiplicative and this one linear. Patrick, how you doing? Question for you as well. What would you recommend for max at wisdom for a mage? The max wisdom for a mage. If that's a talent here. Another person asks if he... Yeah, LOL Dragos. Max wisdom for a mage, he says. What would be your recommended one? Exactly. So, great because it's multiplicative. Yeah, it's like in World of Warcraft and Star Wars: The Republic. District, how you doing? You have to do more Drakensang days because the community love it. I don't know. Yeah, look now how much crit you have. I dump them all. Perfect 0. Look at that. Thank you, District. Welcome. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to the 3 of you, and you as well, Old Dragos, to the 4 of you. Look at now how much crit you have. Let me check it out. It has to be a multiplicative formula. 24%. 24%. I showed how much I had at the beginning. 24. Yeah, I think it was pretty much at what? At 1, 3 at the beginning. That's pretty much it. From 0.5 XC. Yeah, it's multiplicative. And the base damage is just linear. It's like Star Wars: The Republic. Okay. You mean If you would have max wisdom, where you put the point at? Or I'm brain. No, the person asked, Loldregos, you can maybe reformulate the question. What do you recommend to max at which one of them? That's why Fly Energy said crit. Yeah, now I get the question. Sorry. It's because of how it was formulated. Which one you would pick out of all of these? Which one would be your combinations? Which are your combinations for a mage for the wisdom tree? He asked, basically. To get stronger, you need attack speed, crit damage. That's why you use, yeah, max crit and attack speed. Well, there you have it, Lord Dragos. If both Flying Energies and Patrick and also District, if the three of these people that I assure you, the three of them are experts, they are telling you this combo, pretty much you can see what I'm doing, and it's what they are telling you. And I bet you will be able to farm dungeons in. Bring more people to discuss. No, Lord Dragos, no. I told you at the beginning they would. I suggest 100+ people for content. No. Trust me. These people that are replying, maybe in case you don't know, they are the best players of the game, pretty much. I can bring XD, but I am done with this game XD. Well, Fly Energy's played it a lot, which would be so the allocation would be pretty much exploiting the, as far as I can understand as a newbie, the crit damage of the multiplicative formula of the crit damage first, and then the linear formula of the damage here. I wonder what's the CAG is for reset them, one-handed weapon. Let me check them out because it's interesting. Today I wanted to talk about a quite interesting too. Me too. I hate this game. No, uh, no. What I can assure you, Dragos, is that the people that are right now suggesting you this are the ones that play the game the most. So yeah, I can assure you, in that sense, they know what they are doing and saying. I played the main quest line for like 15 times, where there you have examples. Okay, sorry, District. That's why you use one hand and offhand for attack and speed and crit from wisdom. I get your point. Perfect, District. Perfect. So the two-handed is to distribute the stats evenly. That's why you suggested me to use both the spell book and the staff. And well, your message is you have to do more Drakensang days because the community love it. I have a bounty right now. Two-hand is when your stats are higher. It's when like endgame. Okay. I get it. No, I looted a pretty good stuff at the beginning, right at the beginning of the stream. I looted just by chance. I have a question for you guys. I have a question for you. Because today I wanted to talk about the framework of the elemental system, and I bet you will help me because it's difficult to notice something. The elemental weaknesses of the bosses, right? That's the framework. Let's see if someone can answer me this question. The elemental resistances and weaknesses, do they dynamically, actively change depending on the attacks I perform? Like, for example, I use the Frost Wind there, and a boss that would normally be weak against fire is now weak against frost damage, for example. Do they dynamically change, or are they static? Because it's something that I am not able to perceive for the analysis. That's one thing that I wanted to know for sure. Because if the elemental resistances dynamically change, it's another extra layer of abstract complexity to the gameplay mechanics. We got a bot there. But only if you hit. Sorry. There was a Frostwind will boost your ability called Ice Missile. Nah, it doesn't change, but only if you hit a skill. Yes, yeah, I know. But a Patriot, you say, doesn't change. By the way, the bot. Let me ban the bot. Best followers over at blah 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 blah. Yeah, your message couldn't appear, bot. That's why. See why I block the word followers, because it automatically eliminates the message. You all couldn't even see it. That's the case, and it doesn't bother you. Okay, so no, I mean, as I think Patrick understood it. If one ability, if there's an elemental system that actively changes the resistances and the weaknesses of the bosses depending on the ability you use, because sometimes they do change in combat. Because if it's not that, if it's not the abilities activated by the player, what is it that causes the differences in resistances of the bosses in the middle of boss fights? I need to know that, because if that's the case, then there's an extra layer of abstract complexity embedded into the gameplay mechanics. More or less, more or less you get what I mean. That the resistances of the bosses actively change, forcing the player to to mix the types of elemental damages that he has to use. Pretty much, that's the case. If it's not static, that's the case, because it would be an amazing idea of innovation points for the analysis, precisely because it's something that I've never seen, and sometimes they do change. Before I I forget about the message. You have to district. You have to do more Drakensang. Days cause the community love it. Well, thank you from the bottom of my heart, district, and anyone else that watched them as YouTube bots, because some people watch them as YouTube bots. And it's sure I have a bounty that if I reach affiliate, I will add one more day of streaming. I will add one more day of streaming to the week. Right now I don't do it because, as I said, I have my jobs and things to do. But if it does, I will add one more day of streaming. But well, thank you. It warms my heart, district. It's completely static, I think. It's just static. Every boss. But sometimes they change. I've seen it. What causes that change? Then the phases of the boss fight. Then the phases of the boss fight, because it's quite important, because something changes them. I saw them change. I think they change somehow. Depends if you stun him and break the armor of the boss. He loses his resistance. So he switches one static set of resistances for another. Like just one for another. Or he just loses the resistances he has. Yeah, okay. Okay. Just to be sure, green means that he's resistant, red that he's not resistant, and black was the best possible scenario, that he has no resistance. Pretty much. I know a conspiracy when I see one. Norm Cook, crystal cultivation, the dwarves and the incredible wealth. I'm telling you, it doesn't add up. Ask around. Try to find out all you can. Follow every lead as if it were your last. Perfect. Let's keep going, people. Let's keep going. So it's kind of like that. You just sorry, you just eliminate the resistances. But what you think so far about the story? Well, I was going to do it in a next stream, the grandeur part of the analysis. But no worries, district. Is it well written? I'll tell you the first thing that I wanted to highlight, which is I had this saved for another stream, but no worries, district. I'll tell it to you. The first thing that I want to highlight is that, just like Sacred 2, I see a common denominator in... Okay, no worries, I'll tell you, this is part of the grandeur category of the analysis. Basically, the first common denominator that I see in terms of the story, is that both this game and Sacred 2, which is another... game that I have highly recommended to all of you constantly, basically, Sacred 2, which is the one that I played last year. Interesting question. Simur is the capital of gem trade. In fact, safe with me. About cultivating the gems. The first thing, district, is that the common denominator I see with Sacred 2 and this game is that German productions, this is related to the question that Patrick also did by the end of the stream. That it's just that I was with the boss. Sorry, Patrick. I then answered it by the end of the stream, but I'll reply to both questions at once. I see a common denominator that German productions apply a lot of cultural charge. Also, they will add new map, new story next month, so more gameplay for you. If it's a story, no worries. We can do it. Okay, if you all like it so much, I can play more, I guess. Like the reviews. I just thought, honestly, let me tell you this, people. Now I'll read. And I'll read the message about the stats, Patrick. I mean, after level 10, the resistance systems are going to be useless anyways. Bosses when you can too easy, so you don't have to put effort to build against us. What? They add for an alien theme shit? Well, okay. Stolen gems. Gems are for free. First, let me grab the quest. Okay, there we go. Well, whatever. For the crystal box into the cave. The first thing, district. I'll answer district's question, then I get to your messages. Basically, all German productions, that is also related to your question, Patrick, on Thursday about what I think of German production video game development, is that they all have in common that they, both Sacred 2, this game, and all German isometric action RPG games that I've seen, and RPGs in general, they all have a high cultural charge. By that I mean that they know how to apply the culture of medieval Germanic tribes to the legends and the myths of the story. So, you must be thinking, District, is this related to my question of the story? A lot. Because that measures the realistic cohesion of the characters of the story. You can see that all characters in this game act according to a real medieval personality of members of Germanic tribes. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I would highlight. For example, that's the first thing. The second thing about the story, what I think about it, is that quite standard. I think it could be had a bit more of innovation, because it follows the formula of Diablo 3 that was coincidentally released 2 years before this game. In that sense, I'm adding the relative context of the release date window of the game, of the original release date window of the game, and pretty much the rest. Regarding the rest, they had the problem that, remember what we did at the beginning of the series. We analyzed that they didn't get the license to the tabletop game regarding the story. So my third talking point would be that they didn't have the license of the tabletop game Drakensang. In that sense, so they couldn't make use of a lot of the original designs. But well, that would be the difficulty that they had, that managed to somehow elegantly sort out in that sense to solve it. Patrick, oh, I got excited. You are talking now. They will also add new map story next month, so more gameplay for you. Yes, that right. What, they add the alien theme sheet? We find out on Thursday. They will do dev stream. District, the Patrick, surprise face. Also partner program. Just a Bella stream. District, yes, Bella stream. Oh, I got excited to see the man. No. The monkey. Monkeys? Monkeys again? That's the thing. I've been thinking, guys. I've been thinking something. If I ever make it to a Putrid affiliate or whatever, the first emoji I will draw for the channel, it has to be the face of a monkey. Then it has to be the face of a monkey. Maybe a D with the ears and the tail, something like that. A monkey. I'm so happy I can't play the shit game because I have server lags. You have server lag? It can be. I'm connecting to a European server from Antarctica, Patrick, and ice this one. Item was assigned to inventory to help you complete the quest. Consider that I'm connecting from almost from Antarctica to a European server, and it works. That's weird. It has less lag than Star Wars Your Republic, at least. Oh well. Going with the topic of analysis for today, people, and the reason why I ask you that question. The main idea, the main idea is that in the framework of the stat system, I wanted to first highlight the rotational system in MMORPGs. Let's go from the most general idea as the first talking point, as I was mentioning at the beginning, to the most specific one, the specific case of Drakensang Online, and the active component of the elemental system if it existed. Well, let's begin with the general idea. There are two possibilities, as my first talking point, in the classification of ability system in isometric action RPG games and MMORPGs in general. I will also comment. I will also cite that other genre as a comparison, precisely. A few people have the same issue of having a bit of server lag. I tested my internet. I had 22 milliseconds in League of Legends, Albion, and Path of Exile. Then you can help me with Path of Exile. I may need to. I wanted to see. I finished the main story there, and I wanted to showcase the system, do a compare system with that one. In Drakensang Online, I have sometimes like a breakdown, and I get a very long loading screen of 150 milliseconds unplayable. Yeah, same here. When I was streaming Drakensang Online, I lose sometimes connection and my stream went off, but other games normal. Really? In my case, it only crashed when transitioning from one map to the other. Oh well, that is it's. Oh well, it has to be. You guys have played the game much more than I have in that sense. So yeah, it has to be. One could say that, well, since Flying Energies and me, we are streaming, it could be that strains the connection a bit more. But did it happen to you also offline, Flying Energies? The same thing, but offline? Because they all played offline. In our case, because we are also straining our connection playing online and streaming at the same time, kind of like using upload and download connection. But it also happened offline. It's not like the crash, says Patrick. It's a very long loading screen with a frozen screen, and then you have 150 milliseconds lag, pretty much, for 3 minutes, and then it goes back to normal. Well, if you see it in my gameplay, you pointed out, so I realize which is. Have you seen it in my gameplay so far? Have you seen it more or less? Because what I said, I'm connecting almost from Antarctica to a European server. It should happen. If it has to happen to someone, it has to happen. You can on your ping in options. I must have a lot of ping. Let me see. Ping. Is there something like connection? Let me test it. Or at least so you can see a comparison. I don't know. Maybe I can help you with that. On first page. Damn it. First. Latency. Where? Latency indicator of... okay. And where does it appear? I have to restart. Where is it? I have to restart the game. 265. Down there. Next to essences. Oh, so small. 265. Yeah, pretty much, that's normal. Anyways, I have played with that always. It's never been a problem. Well, sorry, people. He playing from Argentina, nothing surprising, indeed. That's why I usually use American servers. Pretty much. But well, in this case, I had to go to Herodor. District asked me to do so, and I'm not going to. I was not going to go to any other server if he told me that one. At all. But it's so smooth. It's not unplayable. At all. Dark Dwarves had the crystal deliveries stolen. I also heard that they Harvested the crystal by the enemy camp in the northwest. They are up to no good. I can feel it. Perfect. Hey, considering... Hey, wait. We have to give props to the devs. Considering I'm connecting almost from Antarctica to a European server, which I should... In that sense, I should play, I guess, in a US server, East Coast. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Like 200. He live in the boom boom country. No, 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 not at all, 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 not at all. It's quite peaceful here, Patrick. Trust me. Not at all. It's not like Central America, in that sense, which you could say it's more dangerous and has drug gangs and those things. Here in Argentina, since the climate is cold half of the year, Thailand? No, no, Iron, no, no, like no, 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 no. I won't ask why, Kappa. I won't ask why. Then he said Thailand. No, no, no. Stolen gems. What do you mean? Well, thank you for saying something about it. No, 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 no. It's. For the love frag, when we can stand with the roots, if we get them back, the price for our gem, we shoot to the roof. Let's get our crystals back. Let's go with it, yeah. I see you live in the sniff snow country. No, there's no snow. There's cold, but there's no snow where I live. You must be thinking, crazy! I love messing with non-Europeans. It's not the case, I am European. I am Italian. I have citizenship. Yeah, you meant not real snow. No, 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 it's true. It doesn't snow here. The climate is like in winter. Right now we're in the middle of the winter, for example, and it doesn't go below 1 degree Celsius. 0 degrees Celsius has been the maximum only 1-2 days. For example, right now we're in the middle of the winter. It's 12 degrees Celsius. And I don't care about the weather. How much is the cocaine? No, no, Patrick, no, please, no, 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 no. It's not like Central America, but no, no. It's not like I meant cocaine. No, no, it's not like Central America because the drug dealers, we don't have the drug gangs of Central America that you see in movies and everything, like Mexico or etc. Because the drug doesn't grow on countries that are either way too high or low of the equator, like in our case, because half of the year it's way too cold, 12 degrees for the stuff to to grow. In that sense, yeah, I knew that you two were referring to that, to the snow. So no, in Argentina it's not like in Central America, like you may imagine. That's why it's safer. In fact, that's why it's safer in that sense. Oh, this one is purple quality. That's why it's safer in that sense, because those gangs cannot do their job appropriately in that sense, because it just won't grow. The plant needs a lot of heat. It needs a lot of heat. It needs a hot climate, and here it's just like the US or Europe in that sense. The climate. Be honest, I don't know really. Canada or US? Which one I would choose personally? Well, in that sense, in that sense, interesting choice. Difficult to live. You mean to live to kind of like choose the country to live? Well, in that sense, I just admire the US a lot. In that sense, a lot of people will say, "Oh, filthy conservative" or something. In that sense, I admire the US a lot. I think they have done a lot to protect the West. So yeah, in that sense, I would go to the US. Living condition, I would go to the zone of Boston. I would go to the zone of Boston if I had the money, of course. I would choose the zone of the north east, the the northern eastern portion. So you like the little sniff sniff and the boom boom boom. Because they have kappa face. You mean because of the usage of free weapons? You don't need that. You don't need to go to the US for that. In Switzerland, you have free usage of weapons. You go to Switzerland and you can with European citizenship, any of us can move to Switzerland as long as you present that you got a job there or something. Okay, I stop. No, no worry, no worry, no worries, Patrick. No, I'm telling you honestly. No, 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 don't worry, don't worry. Those are my opinions. I would, I would choose the 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 U.S. I think first of all, I think no country would be stupid enough as to attack the U.S. So in that sense, I would feel safer. The part that I wouldn't feel safer is the part of people having the guns. But well, the portion that I told you, the northeastern one, the zone of Boston, I would choose Worcester as a city. Worcester, um, to the north of Boston. To the north of Boston, in that zone, there's no free carrying weapons. You just cannot carry a weapon. In the zone of the northeast, above New York. I'm saying to the north of New York. It's a quite secluded location. That's why it's expensive. But if I had the money and I could choose, you told me Canada or US, I would choose the north, the most northeastern section of the US. Worcester, as I've said, a city. Worcester, above Boston. So it's also not that populated. If you are worried about weapons and those things, it's expensive, of course. But if I could choose, I would choose that zone. If I could choose, kind of like overall, I love the UK in that sense. That's pretty much. I know that there's been a lot of security issues lately, but that will go away. That will go away because of culture and everything. It's crazy as a European guy to think about the free carrying weapons. Like we have GIMSTs with swords and wooden stakes. You guys have R15. No, no, in Argentina, no. It's all forbidden. It's like you said, maybe a guy with a knife. No, no, Patrick. It's even if you don't believe it, it's Argentina is the most European-like country of the Americas. It's not like what you may imagine. We eat like Italians and Spaniards. We live like Italians and Spaniards. In the case of Argentina, because of our descendancy, we even eat at the same time as Italians and Spaniards in the compared time zone. Like later, like at 9 p.m., even more 10 p.m. When you see that I finish the stream, that's typically Italian and a Spaniard in that sense, because as I told the other day to another viewer, I think it was to Phantom, the key is that we Argentines were kind of like implanted population, European implanted population. After World War II, I'm only third generation. Yeah, you blend in as an Italian European. Well, good for you, man. No, no, not blend in. I am. I am. It's not blend in. It's that I am. It's that I am. It's that I am third generation, and I have the citizenship. In that sense, I am Italian. I'm Lombard. I told it to Phantom on Thursday. I am inscribed in Italy. Like my legal residence technically is in a little small town called Città di Meda, city of Meda. Meda basically is the northwestern section. You know Gimsi Crusader? No, no. Gimsi Crusader. I know what a Crusader is, a standard one, Patrick. But yeah, I was saying, my legal residence is there. You can, if you go and ask for the public, voting population, etc., you can see that me, my father, and my grandfather and everything, we are inscribed there. It's for those who I'm third generation migrant in that sense because of World War II. Basically, it's the north. It's right. The town, you can Google it. It's right below Switzerland. It's right below the a cone that Switzerland has to the south, to the west, to the north, westernmost of Italy. Uh, Pretty much. It's right below that small horn, let's say, that Switzerland has to the south. You can find it. City of Meda. It's basically Meda. It's a very, very small town in Monza and Brianza. That's a commune. And there I am Spanish citizen, pretty much. That's the thing. He's a neo-Nazi streaming to thousands. His name is Paul Miller. He's from New York. I thought you know him. He was a journalist. From New York, streaming to some pounds. Near, well, no, in that sense, well, we can get into the debate, but we can get into the debate if you like, Patrick. But basically, I've explained this a thousand times on stream. It has it has cost me a lot of people that were intolerant. So in that sense, in the end, I don't care because they didn't even want to listen to my opinions. In that sense, precisely the National Socialist Party, which is what you are precisely mentioning, um, the National Socialist Party of Germany, basically, after absorbing something called the box gaming shaft, which is the inherited spirit of the Prussian community, which is the original name of Germany. Um, it was the movement that it turned into the Nazism there. It was a socialist movement. The name was National Socialism, and in the absorption of the box gaming shaft, which means the inherited spirit of the German community, of the Prussian community, sorry, back then, you can see that the word community is in there, and a conservative stance back then, in the relative context, were the medieval monarchies that, just like Napoleon 100 years before, these crazy revolutionary leaders were trying to dethrone. The conservative stance back then was the British monarchy, the Spanish monarchy, the Italian monarchy, uh, the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. They were all monarchies. They were the conservatives of that story. Even if nowadays I know that this, at least I bet it sounds realistic even to people who are socialist and cannot even fathom me hearing me saying this. But basically, that's the thing. Uh, I think no one would argue that an old school medieval monarchy is. I have to defend this guy. Is more conservative than the revolution of Napoleon, of the French Revolution, and then 100 years later, precisely the National Socialist Party. In that sense, I don't think anyone would argue that the French Revolution was socialist, and then in Prussia 100 years later, the National Socialist Party was the same. Besides, in fact, they were trying to have the revenge at Napoleon for what he had done 100 years before as well. In that sense, so see how interesting it is. These emotes exist for a reason. Douche and a hand up, like saying I'm here. Kappa. No, but in that sense, it was a socialist party in that sense. And the journalists that you are commenting to me, I generally don't watch them because basically I already know pretty much what they can say, and no one ever argues to them in any of those transmissions or anything. So the journalist Gims from New York, like looks the same. No, but it was a socialist party. It was a socialist party. It's precisely what my stance fought against. In that sense, the British monarchy, the European monarchy. I'm a monarchist. I support monarchies. Anyone, I say this proudly. I support I think the most stable model throughout time has been the Roman Empire with the monarchic system, and modernly, a bit more modernly, the British monarchy. I think monarchies, the European monarchies, are the most stable system, and it has been proven because of the amount of time they've been around with us. At this point, you are too smart. I will overheat by the information kicked out. No, no, no! Don't say that. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer, and I had to study all of this to pass the fucking subjects. It's not like that. I went to a Roman Catholic school, and we had subjects related to this that were, for example, history of philosophy, which is this. Is basically the history of consciousness, of human consciousness, in that sense. And I love debating all of these topics, but it's sometimes too much. You can, well, I had some viewers that simply couldn't stand debating these topics, and that's why uh, some people may hate me. So I perfectly understand that a full socialist or a full communist may hate me, and well, there's nothing I can do about it. I've never banned anyone because of opposite opinions, Patrick. Just know that. If I had a socialist here showing up or whatever, but by the way, what is your job? I am an English teacher and software developer. But first, I was well. I studied to be a lawyer. I went to a Roman Catholic university, and I'm an English teacher precisely, and software developer. I am a front-end software developer and English teacher. Hopefully, and well, hopefully in the future, um, I hope my yeah, you sound like a teacher. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you for that. For example, I can smell teachers from afar. For example, I don't know. I teach English to natives even. For example, you can have I don't know, um two people, right? The husband is from the U.S. and the wife is from the UK, from the United Kingdom. Okay, so they may know how to speak English perfectly, even more natural than me or you or anyone else, more naturally than any of us non-native speakers. But they have the problem that things are called differently. For example, in the US, you say elevator, and in the UK you say lift, like Lift. You say lift, or I don't know. In the UK you say lorry, and in the US you say truck. For example, and those differences, and for example that helps them. That's why I have some natives. I generally teach to, of course, to ESO. ESOL students, English speakers of other languages, ESOL, um, here from Argentina locally or whatever, and uh, and then some natives because of those reasons in those cases. And as for the rest, I am since some years ago I'm a front-end software developer, and I have done some jobs and etc. And I want that to grow a bit more, but in that sense, before all of that, I graduated as a lawyer in a Roman Catholic in the main Roman Catholic University of Argentina. The name is that one, Pontifical Catholic University of Argentina. You can Google it. It's basically the main Roman Catholic institution. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it as lawyer. I just didn't like it. I know everything. I graduated with, I assisted even with a scholarship to merit, with an average of 8 out of 10. I ended up, even if I didn't like anything that I read, and that's an extra burden, I must say. Always choose the correct career, people. But in that sense, there's that. And then, well, in that sense, now I'm interested. What do you think about white supremacists and white power? Jewish not included on other Middle Eastern. I think that's. I did a criticism to critical race theory, to critical race theory, to critical race theory. Um, what is now? nowadays called that supremacists. Of course, I think, that 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 the crazy supremacists cannot roam free if they are going to physically attack on the street people. As I told it to you the other day, most of the things people say online, I am truly convinced 99% of the cases they wouldn't on the street physically attack or harass someone at all in that sense. That's why I mention it. If it happens, yes, I think that the person has to go to jail if he's physically attacking someone because, I don't know, he didn't like the skin color or whatever. If they are attacked, that this is in abstract terms. Of course, anyone who physically attacks another person on the street, of course, I think it's wrong and should go to jail, 100%. Now, related to the relative context, that, for example, you mentioned to me the other day, I think there has been a planned indiscriminate migration to Europe, to our countries. Believe it or not, as I said, I have Italian citizenship and I feel Italy, it is my home. I am inscribed there, and it's also for me. I think there has been a plan to do an indiscriminate migration to Europe in that relative context. Telling a person that he's a white supremacist, who you say, or white power, or whatever, just because they want to close their country's frontier, I think that is an absolute relativist fallacy. The person is afraid of living in an insecure area, and it's absolutely understandable in that sense. So it has nothing to do. I think there's been a relativization of the objective meaning of words, of the objective meaning of the word white supremacist or whatever. Precisely, all of the so-called slang terms, the labels that they put, and it's an old communist strategy, putting labels to classify people in a general way. Stalin did it, Mao did it in China, the other one, Lenin did it. All of the communist dictators do that. Generalize people so you cannot, so the most of the population don't get into the details, and generally the details are more important. What I am doing with this explanation, for example, in that sense, I think that because of that relativization of destroying the objective meaning of words, what I told you the other day about metaphysics and everything, that was precisely the stance of the old medieval monarchies, which was a stance, the realism of assigning objective meanings to metaphysical entities in the world. That's precisely what relativism destroys. And now, for example, we have people believing that someone who doesn't want illegal migration to his country is a white supremacist, and it's not the case. And the ultimate proof is that in most countries, they are having an unfair illegal migration, and even so, the attacks that I have seen so far in European territories have been the other way around. In that sense. Well done. Passage to the Misty World, the soldiers keeping the windows to keep you safe. As for the rest, I can tell you what I said it the other day to Phantom. To get my Italian citizenship, there's people, for example, who spend 10 years, no exaggeration, to legally get it, proving that you have the bloodline of the section and everything. it took me 2 years of paperwork, of intense paperwork. I had to prove. In that sense, my father had already done all of the reconstruction of the bloodline, which is the worst part. Is the part that can take you a lot of time. And famous Paul Miller quote: "You don't hate black people because you don't live in New York, in New York City." No, I get what. In that sense, um, I think the Democrat administration brought a lot of illegal migration on purpose for the election and whatever. Then things turned out how they turned out. But what I can tell is this. Uh, what I can tell you and anyone else watching is this: the being white or being black, precisely in this case, does not make you an angel automatically. You can be a good or bad person regardless of any of those things. Then there's also what precisely I may think that you may want to know what I think about the 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 old story of the European colonization. It's just experiencing the daily max, pushing people in front of the trains, and just generally creating chaos because they didn't get the right order. Um, you mean the streamer does that, or the others do that to people, or the people he's criticizing do that to other civilians, creating chaos because they didn't get the right order? No, you mean maybe the illegal migration of the U.S. Streamer experiencing it. Okay. Experiencing suffering it from the others. Okay. No, what I going. Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. As I said, well, let's get the other part of the story. Just as I said that any person who would physically attack anyone because of their skin color on the street or whatever would go to jail. Of course, any migrant who isn't legally residing in the country and also does not respect uh, basic rules of conduct, because what you're telling me is a basic rule of conduct, not pushing people on the train and etc. In that sense, I would send them to jail and then deport them to their country. And I'm not a supremacist or whatever the fuck because of that. The rules are there to be. Authority is there to be imposed. In that sense, I think, Patrick. Um, I don't believe in live and let live. I believe in authority. And authority in an organized society, so we don't kill each other, is the authority of the police officer with the uniform telling the person that he has to behave, regardless of the country. If you want to migrate here to Argentina, for example, we have had Central American migration or whatever, and in that sense, be it the U.S., Europe, or us here, um, the laws are there to be obeyed, not to be broken. If you illegally migrated into the country, you have to be arrested. If you do that, pushing people, he said that also he's working with majority, so that's why he wouldn't choose between black and black. Just throw them back to Africa. Oh, yeah, but that's not being so far. I don't know if he said other stupid things like I don't know any stupid things like whatever you may imagine that he said or you saw that he said. I don't know the person at all. But if you break the law, this isn't a matter of color of skin. It's a matter of obeying the law and obeying the police officer. When I see that someone, I don't know, insults a police officer or tries to to mock a police officer or insult him, the second you insult a police officer, you have to go to jail and do community service. I'm sorry. It's like that. It's like that. Since the Roman Empire, Western society has worked because it's like that. I would grab all of them and at least 1 or 5 years of community service, and I assure you it works in 2 seconds. In my high school, for example, we had, I told you, I went to both, to a Roman Catholic university and a Roman Catholic high school. They always respected that I'm an atheist. I can tell you why. That you asked me also the other day. It's a long story, but basically, out of my out of my four, um, let's say, bloodlines, my four grandparents, one I had two Italian, one Spaniard, but one had the hard life of being Syrian. He was Syrian, for example. One. It is true. You'll tell me, well, but that's only 25% of your family tree is not representative. Indeed, it's not completely representative. But just to have an idea, he was Syrian, of course. When World War One erupted, he was a wealthy merchant. He was a wealthy merchant. My great grandfather. He had the hard life of being Syrian, and he was a wealthy merchant, and he was sent to the front line straight up without any kind of civil rights or anything. To the front line, he wasn't in the military or anything, and in the name of their god, precisely the Arab god and etc., he was sent to the front line. He survived, as you can see. The fact that I'm here means that he survived. He had to escape as a stowaway precisely to here to Argentina with a lot of other people. That generally did not happen in more civilized Western countries. So because of that, that Syrian grandfather that survived, my Syrian great grandfather that survived, told my grandfather to completely forget about religion constantly, and that kind of like went down in my family tree to my mother, to my etc etc etc. So that's why I'm a bit averted to religion because of that, precisely. In general, but of course, if I had to, of course, say what religion has done the most benefit for humanity, it would be, of course, a Roman Catholic with the Roman Empire and everything that civilized a lot of the world. That's why I also admire the United Kingdom, and I'm not a crazy supremacist because I say that the United Kingdom did a lot of good on the Roman Empire because they civilized. Because what is generally told about this is I can give you the context of that as well. Back when the Americas were discovered, the European powers that didn't get the land that the British Empire and the Spanish Empire got, France lost it precisely to the British, for example, and to the Spaniards. They created something called precisely the Black Legend, and it's related to another topic that I think it was the first time you joined the stream. You mentioned that, well, I'm European. I'm not affected because I told you I don't want to be banned and etc. And white people build every major country as well. Every country is a third world. Indeed, indeed. So far, that's history, and I'm not and it's not being a white supremacist because of that. In that sense, it's history. The problem is that history cannot be interpreted with modern standards. It needs to be interpreted in the context where it happened. Precisely what I was commenting to you regarding to this, that you commenting me like the white guilt theory. This is called the white guilt theory. I think it's the worst shit that has ever happened. There's no reason for any of us white Europeans Americans, to say sorry for how history happened 500 years ago or whatever. There's a basic principle in human rights that children are not responsible for the acts of their parents. You can ask any lawyer of any country, and he will reply to you with this. Regarding to the white guilt theory, the powers, the European powers that didn't get the lands of the Americas, created the so-called Black Legend as opposed to the Rose Legend. Luckily in Europe, France and UK never included white guilt. Doesn't exist. In Germany maybe a bit. In Germany a bit. And in Germany there is, trust me, a lot. In Germany there is. Maybe in Roman Catholic Southern is not that much. But yeah. In Germany there is right now. For example, trust me, I've seen it. I've seen it. I can show you that it has happened. What I'm telling is that, for example, back in the day, France, for example, since the British ended up taking, and then the Americans got independent. Since the British got then all of the zone of that is now the US, they created the French created the Black Legend, which is that one that when they arrived here to the Americas, we were all big bad Europeans that exterminated population and etc. I've told this several times on stream, believe it or not, to other viewers. You know what happened when my Italian, well, not my Italian ancestors, because they arrived after World War II. The original Spanish European descendants arrived here, and the original British ones over at the US dropped here. The reality of the situation. What happened? Imagine that you and me, we are, I don't know, I'm a Spaniard here, and you are the British colonizer or whatever in the US. Any of us. You step out of the boat. You step out of the boat, right? You discover land, etc., etc. You discover the land. What happens when you step out of the boat? Bogan. Oh, men dead. Prepare the bayonets. See that it's realistic, at least what I'm telling you. You may believe me or not, but at least it sounds realistic, right? It does sound realistic because it's what happened. Oh, we stepped out of the boats. Bogan, men down, prepare the bayonets, the Spaniards and the British. And well, and the French as well. But precisely, the Germanic, the Prussian Empire back then, the French Empire after losing to the British, the zone of the US, the Dutch Empire, all of those created the Black Legend as to demonize their rivals as they were expanding through the Americas, and that's what modernly they've recovered for the most of the socialist parties recovered for the white guilt theory, precisely like pretty much like that. And by now, if if everyone doesn't hate me by now, because I know that nowadays listening to this in a lot of cases it's way too much because of how they have lobotomized the society. There's been an indoctrination by people who are not qualified. Sorry, there's people who are simply not qualified to talk about history objectively. Sadly, I know that most people wouldn't even endure listening to this, and nothing of this is supremacist or anything. It's just everything that I'm saying is pure history. You may choose to believe the Black Legend if you'd like, but you can see that what I'm telling you at least is realistic. Imagine that you go to another planet. Let's not use continents. Let's try planet. Imagine we go to another planet and we find the aliens. How do you think the interaction will be with the aliens? What do you think it will be? Do you think when you venture into the unknown, like our Spanish and British and the British ancestors did, I also have to add to this that the Mexican civilizations back then, the Aztecs, the Mayans, etc., also the Sioux in the US and etc. They did human sacrifices. I don't know if you know it, people. They did human sacrifices. Especially, they sacrificed women. The most unreal, disgusting writings in history books that are mentioning white people are so evil they conquered the USA and spread the plague and viruses. Bro, because of the Black Pest of Europe. No, but that happened a lot of years before that. The bubonic pest or the Black Pest happened in medieval Europe, and uh, by the time Columbus discovered the Americas, it had happened. Bro, we built a whole living country for black people basically because they couldn't. They would still talk in the no, no. I can tell you what they did. The original American tribes here in the Bronze Age before we arrived. Uh, they did human sacrifices, especially the first thing that they sacrificed, especially in the part of Central America, the Mexican tribes, Aztecs and Mayans and etc. They were hated by other tribes, by the way, in case you are interested. The first thing that they did human sacrifices, especially women and children. Their usual procedure was to extract the heart with a knife, with very precarious knives, because they didn't know iron or shit that hadn't arrived from Europe. They did human sacrifices to the serpent god. What was the shit? The name? The freaking name was Quetzalcoatl, the huge serpent or whatever. That's what they did. The Aztecs, the Mayans, etc. When us, the big bad Spanish Europeans arrived there to Central America, um, and to the US, the British and the French, crime, the death rate lowered by what? 500%, 1,000%. Without us, white people would still eat each other. Facts. I don't know about Africa. I haven't learned about history of Africa at all. I don't know about African tribes at all. What I can tell you is about tribes in the Americas, which is where I live. The Aztecs did human sacrifices. This is a historical fact. The Mayans did human sacrifices as well, just as I told you the procedure. It was to appease their gods, because since they didn't have Roman Catholic culture or Protestant culture in the case of the U.S. with the Irish migrants, the gods were seen in a more Bronze Age way, like deities that you had to appease so they wouldn't kill all of your civilization with a fireball from the sky or some shit like that. It was more of a fearful figure. The gods, they were like that, like Quetzalcoatl and the rest of the Mayan and Aztec gods. They were in a more seen in a more fearful way, much more similar to how the Egyptians, for example, saw Ra or Isis or those things pre uh, Greek and Roman, uh, pre-Roman Catholic monotheism. They were seen as we have to appease them, otherwise they'll throw us a fireball like that. And for that they did what I'm telling you, the human sacrifice. I don't know about history of Africa or anything. If they eat each other or whatever. Uh, if I had to say, I suppose it must have happened back then, but not. I would remove the adjective uh, white in that sense. It's Roman Catholic European civilization. I would say European civilization as a whole. It doesn't have to do with skin color. It has to do with bringing Roman Catholic culture to the Americas or to whichever other land back in the relative context of of that age. In that sense, the Europeans civilized the Americas. This is a fact, a historical fact. I don't know about other zones, but yes, in that sense, that's why, as I said, I that I also all in all, if you do an overall outcome balance of the British Empire, I think it was the most beneficial because at the end of the day, it civilized a lot. I will write down my knowledge of the topic. If you don't mind it, might be bullshit, but I try to write with my low Hungarian English. No, don't say that, Patrick. Don't worry, don't worry. No, you speak very well. You speak very well. I don't know if you took classes or it was natural by 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 playing games or whatever. That there are a lot of people that do. No, you speak very well. 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 No. What what you learned on your. Hang on a second. I think I have this boot. Can I sell it? Hey, I think I lost track of. No, I wasn't doing the main quest. Report back to the captain there. I was doing the main quest. I wasn't that lost. No. In that sense, what I'm telling you is what I uh, learned. What I learned uh, in precisely in back in law school and university and high school and etc. The thing is that I read both stances and I drew my own conclusions. Natural, I will take a class before university for a C1. I'm still very awkward in English conversation. A class before university for a C. You got it, but well, but if you got a C1, it's quite advanced. I think it's the first or the C1 is the no, it's the advanced. It's the one that I did. Yeah, if you took the advanced, you are at my level. The CAE is pretty much the level I'm at. Pretty much the C1. So no, at all. No, there are a lot of people. Yeah, conversation. I can tell you this. The first time after getting the C1, right? We're talking about after getting the C1, the certificate in advanced English. After taking the C1, I watched a video from Linus Tech Tips, for example, in English, and I couldn't understand it. And I couldn't understand it even after perfectly. It was the first time I watched a video. Sorry, not so. No, see, the first time I watched a video in English, and I couldn't understand it. And I couldn't understand it, with the C1 and everything. The first time, the very first time. After watching some, naturally, I now understand every video in English. In that sense, after doing the C1, that's why I recommend watching YouTube videos, even if you don't understand them. Even if you get lost in some words. Because then, thanks to that, now I can watch any video in English, British, US, etc. And the ear has to kind of like get used to it That's the thing. It doesn't mean that, regardless of the qualification, anyways, it doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes. You will always make mistakes because even native speakers make mistakes. I can assure you. I see it every day. I have corrected even native speakers. Uh, you will always make mistakes, even as a native speaker. Even the thing is to reduce it as much as possible. In that sense, uh, for example. But yeah, that's my level C1. That's my level. The thing is that, well, after that I practiced. I just practiced. YouTube is great for that. It's great. For example, when I started streaming Patrick, if you watch my first videos from that time, because I had to go to law school 5 years, and, and because of that I couldn't practice my English. In my first streams, when I'm right out of law school, you can see how rusty my English was. I don't know where should I apply for English, because English obviously is my easiest subject. I do straight A's in the school every test, but I don't know where should I use it, in which job. um, well, English first of all will will allow you to the first thing is that is to do the well, I don't know if you already done it, precisely the C1. First I did C2, then C1, and with that already, with a C1 plus some practice, uh, if you already did the C1, you can apply as English teacher easily in any non-English speaking country, and it should be good. If you then want to apply even more on top of it, I don't know, learn to to to, to translate, or even to develop software. I don't know, in that sense, but because they are professions that are all in English. Everything computer related is in English. In a sense, you need a degree to work as a teacher. No, how hard was the C1? The C1 is hard. There's a huge difference between the C2 and the C1. The C2, the first certificate in English, the FCA, um, is not that difficult. The C1, the huge jump is not that difficult. I didn't do the last one, the C3, I think it is, or B2, something like that. I don't know. Because I changed the letters. How was it? Because then maybe it changed. No, sorry. The B2, correct? The B2, which is the first certificate in English, that one is much simpler. The B2 is much simpler. There isn't that much difference between a C1, which is the certificate in advanced English, the CAE, and the C2, which is the proficiency in English. I actually studied for the proficiency 2 years, but I had to take care of law school, and I ended up not sitting up for it because my English was already at top level. Uh, uh, at that point, I didn't even sit for the exam, but it is mostly sure that I would have passed it, because I was 18 back when I passed the C1, and I had time, a lot of time to do the other one, but it made no sense. I learned more from direct practice. There isn't that much difference between C1 and C2. There is huge difference between B2 and C1. I would say that a student that sat for the C1, that passed the C1, the certificate in advanced English, can then speak like I'm doing, like semi-native, let's say, semi-native. I started thinking about being a translator. That's a good that's a good career. It's a good career. The problem is that nowadays they say that the artificial intelligence is going to, the first thing that it's going to replace is the translators. In that sense, I don't trust them, but well, if you want to pay attention to them, they say that. In that sense, I couldn't translate any document, and it wouldn't be a problem. In that sense, the C1 is hard. It's hard. I prepared one entire year for the C2 for the C1. There's a huge difference with the B2, which is the first certificate in English, the FCA, the FCE, sorry. The exams are sent to a place called the British Council there. In fact, all of our exams are there, and they remain there as a document. They have to travel. It is also expensive. Maybe, at least in my case, they asked for $1,000 for the C1. It was. Hopefully, the economy of your country isn't as bad as what the socialist economy of my country was back then, in that sense. But in my case, it was $1,000 US dollars, and you need a degree to work as a teacher. No, in that sense, depends on the country. Depends on the country. Depends on the country, but with a C1, I don't think anyone will. Yeah, then maybe they will ask you to do some teaching courses to ensure that you won't be savage with the students. That's the psychological part of it, maybe. In most countries, it's like that. At least it was like that in Argentina. They will ask you to do the social part of it a bit, but I don't think it will be that much. For example, the problem that I see with you and being a teacher is that you will be highly censored. I teach, and you could be highly censored by your government in that sense. But in your case, you are in Hungary, and in Hungary there's freedom. There's a bit more freedom of expression with Orban, and let's say it's more of a libertarian approach. Maybe in that sense you are lucky. I told you the story of the history teacher, the Argentine history teacher, the other day, that went to teach history in France, and he ended up relocating to Hungary because he couldn't say that men would develop testosterone in that sense, and that affected brain activity compared to a female brain, and that was way too much, and he had to move to Hungary. But well, you're already there, so in that sense, if you know there's no censorship, of course, maybe they will give you some guidelines. Pretty much it's like that, teaching at any academy. In that sense, they may give you some guidelines, like I do, for example. Here you can see it on stream. Maybe I say my opinion and everything, and etc. But I never, as I said, if you wouldn't bother someone on the street, why do it anywhere else? Even more at a job, in that sense. Just don't say your opinion respectfully. That's what the best idea, with logic and your arguments. That's what I do, at least, and it's what I would recommend in that sense. Of course, if you are getting censorship, there's nothing you can do. In Argentina, we don't get that much. There's a problem with Spanish and, for example, inclusive language. The problem is that in Spanish, all words are they respond either to a masculine or feminine sex classification. There are no neutral articles. The THE in English of having a neutral article doesn't exist. The they, them, or whatever, it doesn't exist because all articles are gendered. The same goes for Italian and Portuguese in that sense, and because of that, it is linguistically impossible to speak in inclusive language in Spanish because the article is gendered. All of the words are they have are either masculine or feminine, believe it or not. And that was a huge barrier protection, let's say, from the modern woke ideology or whatever in that sense. Because you can create neutral articles in Germanic derived languages, but not in Roman derived languages because of this, in that sense. So, yep, for example, my ultimate end goal to work at home, that would be my main focus. Oh, I agree with you on that one. 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 I totally agree with you on that one. It's the best. It's the best. It's the best. It's the best. I've said this kind of like since I was a little child. I don't see why, with all of the technology that we've had even back then, why move to your office? If someone is not responsible because they work at home and they get distracted, well, of course, fire the person. But then, if the person can prove that he's working and doing everything, I think it's more efficient to work from home in that sense. Well, in that sense, for example, I teach from home a lot of times. A lot of the time, for example, with Zoom, you just use Zoom and and you can do kind of like classes for a single student and those things. Patrick, that's what I do. For example, Zoom. Not everything is kind of like on site. Sometimes I have to, but uh, you can teach through Zoom at home. In that sense, that's what I do. That's what I do. In my case, I have said it on stream. I really don't have any need to work at all, but it's good to do so. And if you can do it, kind of like teaching English, that helps population in general understand each other. It's a lot of it's quite rewarding spiritually in that sense, because you are maybe helping, I don't know, someone understand other person that maybe they want to know or whatever, and it's a huge gratification. As I've said, you just those are quite huge. How did you find students to your Zoom teachings? Advertising basically, advertising. There are, for example, the equivalent of of Amazon. There's a local equivalent here in Argentina that it was locally developed. In Argentina, we developed a clone. Someone developed a clone of Amazon that is basically the one that takes care of all business in South America. Basically, the headquarters, it was developed here in Argentina for the rest of South America, and there you can not only offer products, which you can, like, I don't know, the console, the gaming console or whatever, but you can also offer services. And there you offer your services and etc. And then, of course, my 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 own teacher introduced me to some students in that sense that were kind of like an overflow uh, of her own batch of students in that sense, like that, like that. Um, of course, I had to sit for the C1 first, and learn with her for a lot of years, for 10 years at least. But yeah, but in that sense, Patrick, in my personal case, as I've said, I teach more than anything to do something so the brain does not rot, because when you teach, you are being forced to actually relearn everything, because you have to say it out loud, and you have to truly understand the subject. You only really master a subject because when you understand why it happens perfectly, in that sense. So yeah, I will have a huge burden in the future. Personally, I'll have a huge personal burden in the future. Personally, because my my parents do real estate, and I will have to take care of that. So I will basically have to drop some of the things that I do right now, the software developing or the English teaching or something. How much? You get it monthly. With the English teaching, not that much in that sense. Not that much. Maybe more than $1,000, more or less, with a lot of students. Most is from, as I've said, from my family. In that sense, it's from my family, from my family's business. In that sense, and then of course software developing. When there's a job, yes, a school side hustle. Yeah. But as I've said, I do it mostly so my brain doesn't rot. In that sense, it's just so my brain doesn't rot. Because then, of course, I will, as I've said, in the future, in the future, I will have to assume leadership of that, and and of real estate. It's not real estate the management like selling homes. It's like condos. You know what a condo is? Like apartments, like in big cities like New York and etc. Well, uh, here we do the same model. We have a lot of. They are not huge skyscrapers, but they are like condos, apartments of some units instead of homes, and basically there needs to be an administrator of the horizontal property, as it is called. Basically the you need an administrator to uh, to to pay the salary to the porter, to find a replacement if the porter has holidays, to make sure to pay the social health care to the porter, to I don't know, deal with the plumber, if a pipe breaks down, with the electricity if something goes wrong, um, and etc. And I will have to take care of that, and that is the main source of my family and everything. I will have to eventually take care of that. I still haven't. My parents do it, but I will have to do it because I'm an only child. So yeah. But as a leader, would you make hella money? No, 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 no. In Argentina, no, 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 not in Argentina. No, no, no. It's a quite sacrifice. It's a quite tough profession here, because first of all, in Argentina we use the old, as I've said, the old Roman system, like in a lot of countries in Europe, and it's all written. It's not like in movies where you see that it's all oral, it's all spoken, it's all written in that sense. And as lawyer, no, I can assure you, it was um, it was of course not like this, like I do teach in English, that I manage my students just how I like it and everything, at all. It's not like that. It was like joining a law firm, joining a law firm, getting up, of course, at 6:30 p.m. in the morning. I have friends from law school, and I can assure you it is like that. and they were lucky because, for example, they have their parents that are the owners of the law firm, or they are an associate or something. You get up at 6:30 a.m. You have to go you have to physically move to the courts and start doing the paperwork and etc. And the payment, uh, no, it was uh, roughly, no, $500, something like that back then. At most, a hundred. It was negligible. $200, $500. No. It was a lot of sacrifice for something that was not worth it. Honestly, in Argentina, maybe in other countries it's different, but here, no. There's a this. Well, I might go to sleep. It was a good talk, man. See you next stream. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Patrick, I deeply appreciate our talk, our chat. I love talking about all of those topics besides the analysis and everything. Hope it was enjoyable. And well, you at least you could listen to different viewpoints, I bet, compared to what most streamers will tell you with all of that stuff about the white guilt theory and everything. At least you could hear a different viewpoint, even if it, uh, however it may sound, as I tell everyone, if it sounds so stupid or ridiculous or anything about history lessons and everything. At least it's a different viewpoint. That's a good thing. As I always said, I came to the conclusions that I say uh, after after listening to a lot of different viewpoints, and then I drew my own. I drew my own conclusions in that sense. So that's always the most interesting part in about it. Good night, Patrick. Have a great night. I deeply enjoyed our chat as well. I deeply enjoyed it. Amazing. Thank you for visiting my stream every second, as always. You and the rest of the people.